Hello and thank you for watching. This is STSC back again with LEGO Transformers, Age of Extinction, Lockdown. Here we have Lockdown in his Lamborghini mode. I believe the specific model was an Aventador, though I might be wrong about that. I feel like this mode kind of ended up looking a little bit chibi almost, and I think it has a lot to do with the windshield. If you're familiar with my usual LEGO Carbot, you'll know that the windshields are typically 3 wide, but here, due to the transformation, I had to give him a 4 wide windshield, which I think just looks a little bit off. But I don't think it looks too bad, and I still think he fits in as a decent enough representation of a Lamborghini amongst my other Carbots. Unfortunately, you do see his hands poking through on the back of the car. Personally, I don't really mind that much. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but it is not the best look. For the headlights, I've used trans medium blue. At first, I was going to use azure, and then I tried regular trans light blue, but both of them were just a little too bright, and I think that this medium blue fits a little bit better. Looking at it from the side, I do think the car has a pretty nice profile. There are some gaps here or there, and it is a little bit rickety in the center here, but I think altogether it comes together pretty well. In the back, there's kind of a happy accident that the skeleton of the figure kind of pokes through here, but the black coloration kind of makes it look like the vented rear windshield of the car. For a size comparison, here we have him with a minifigure. And here he is with a couple other Carbots. So you can see he does scale pretty decently with my other cars. I'm not sure how accurate this scale is, if this Lamborghini should be shorter than these two cars or not. I don't really care, honestly. I do think this comparison kind of shows how gray heavy a lot of the robots were in the Michael Bay films. And last but not least, here we have him with Ironhide. So you can see how he compares to a larger truck. That's all there is to say about Lockdown's Lambo mode, so now it's time to transform. And here we have Lockdown in his robot mode. And as per the film, he's kind of just a boring gray humanoid. Yeah, to be honest, I'm not really a huge fan of this design in the movie. I think it's a huge downgrade from how he looked in the Revenge of the Fallen toy or the animated show. But that being said, I do think I got this representation fairly accurate. One thing I love is that I actually got the headlights onto his chest. I think that was a very important detail, especially since it's kind of the only piece of his car you can see in his robot mode. Looking at him from the back, he does have a bit of kibble. He has the wheels kind of just hanging off on his back and on the back of his arms, and his heels are pretty obviously formed from the windscreen of the vehicle. But all things considered, I don't think this is too bad. If there's one missing detail I really wish I could have added, it's his shoulder missiles. In the movie, he has 2 black missile launchers on his shoulders, kind of roughly around here, between his collar and his shoulder almost. Unfortunately, I just wasn't able to implement those on this design. For size comparison, here we have him with a minifigure with Sideswipe, who is easily the smallest of my Carbots, so you can see he is a fair bit taller than him. And with Soundwave, who up until now I believe was the tallest of my Carbots, and as you can see, Lockdown is about a head taller than him. And last but not least, Ironhide. So you can see how he compares with a larger truck figure, and you can see he is also a smidge taller than him, and I really like this scale. Lockdown has 2 extra heads, both of which can simply replace his default head, and of course they are his battle mask and his gun head. And Lockdown has 3 weapons. His knife, which can simply peg onto his forearm, his hook, which replaces his hand, and his spark-extracting blaster, which replaces his forearm. For articulation, Lockdown's head can look left and right. At the shoulders, he can go up and down, kind of go in and out a little bit, but unfortunately the joint it is on is underneath the panel the neck is connected to, so if you try to push it up too far, you're going to bump the neck out of the way. Then at the elbows, he has a simple 90-degree bend, and he has a swivel at the wrist. Lockdown kind of has an ab crunch, but it mostly works going backwards. But if you slide this tile down, you can free up room for him to crunch down. Then at the hips, he has a universal joint, which allows his leg to swing forward and back, and in and out. Then at the knee, he has a hinge that allows for well over 90 degrees. And last but not least, his tiny little feet do have a pivot. While Lockdown has a fair amount of articulation, his tiny little feet can make it a little hard to actually get him standing. But you could always put him in a dynamic stabbing the ground pose, using his dagger as a third leg. And he can even kneel pretty easily, which I think looks pretty cool. While I mentioned I'm not a huge fan of this design in the film, I am really happy with how this build turned out. Lockdown is always a fun challenge to try and make a car extra tall in robot mode. And while he doesn't tower over every single Carbot, I do think he's sufficiently extra big. And I especially love how he looks with Sideswipe, my smallest Carbot. But that's all I have to say about Lockdown, so I'll see you next time.